let's have a look at Google Classroom, which you'll be using for all of your classes at the Wright Institute. To get to Google Classroom, I go to classroom.google.com, and you'll see that it gives me an option to sign into Google. So I'll sign in with my Wright Institute email. This is important. You can't get in with other email addresses. You need to be signed into Google through your Wright Institute account. I'll go ahead and sign in. When I sign into Classroom, you'll see that there are a number of different classes that I'm a student or teacher in. In this case, we're going to be taking the apocryphal Wright Institute class, CTT. And you can see I can join the class by hitting the Join button. When you open a Google Classroom, the home page is the Stream tab. Here, your professor can make announcements, or in this case, the professor of my class has said, "Hi everyone, head over to the Classwork tab to get all the info you need for the course." You can see the class description. So in this case, we're in the class Corgi Thought and Theory, where we will examine unique philosophical challenges faced by pups in the modern era. This tab has everything I need for my course, from course readings to basic course information to all of my assignments to the exams that I will take. It's all in the Classwork tab. So let's take a little while and look at the parts of this page. So the first section is course information. This is sort of basic syllabus information, and you'll see a welcome start here item. This is a post your professor has made. And here you actually will see this welcome to Google Classroom video. Moving down, you'll see, for instance, contact info for your professor. In this case, my professor is Einstein the Corgi, a specialist in the field of modern pups insofar as he is one. And also office hours for your professor and how to get a hold of them. In this case, my professor has used a feature where I can sign up for appointment slots. If I click on that, it brings up my Google Calendar with office hours that I can book to meet with Einstein the Corgi, my professor. Moving down, you'll see there's an attendance policy, and this one has a rubric. So many things in Google Classroom have built-in rubrics so that you know how your professors are grading you. If I click on this rubric, you'll see that there are a few different categories I'm being graded on, and you'll see what it takes to earn different levels of the categories on the rubric. And we'll look later at what happens to your grades when your professors assign them. Moving down, accessibility and accommodations. Etiquette and ergonomics, since many of us are new to being online for so many hours during class, some tips on that. Instructional format and grading practices includes both the weight of different types of grades. So for instance, up here, we saw an attendance grade, and you can see that its category is attendance and participation. So if you want to know how much attendance and participation is worth of your overall grade, you'll look here in instructional format and see that attendance and participation is worth 20% of your overall course grade. Moving down, you can see the books required for your course, as well as ways to access different library resources at the Wright Institute. Also a section on expectations for writing and studying, and a number of different resources for doing APA writing. So some classes will also have this optional resources section with background readings that you might want to do for your studies. Anything in your classroom, we'll head back to the Classwork tab, that is graded, so where you have to submit something or you'll receive a grade, you will see the part of the grade that it is attached to next to that item. Anything else, even if it's called an assignment, you don't actually have to submit anything because this doesn't have a category. It's not part of the overall weighting scheme for grades in this class. Scrolling further down the page, you'll see that there's a section for each class meeting. This class, for instance, meets for the first time on September 3rd, 2020. And within each course meeting, there are certain standardized sections. The first being required resources. So this is background readings, videos you have to watch. In this case, I'll open required resources for the first class, and it says, before our first class session, please become familiar with the following content. Read these 2 papers and watch this video. So here's the video, and if I click on it in Google Classroom, I can see that my professor wants me to watch this tiny puppy. And I can watch that within the Google Classroom. The papers, here are their APA citations. If I scroll down, I'll see that the papers are also attached. And if I click on them, I can open these papers and read them. Another way to access the papers for your class is through your class drive. So at the top of the coursework page, I'm going to click on this class drive folder and open it up. My class drive folder is full of resources that are unique to me. So for instance, here are the PDFs from the class, and they're my own version of them. I can write on them, highlight, print them out, whatever I want from this drive folder. When I clicked Class Drive folder, within my Write Institute Google Drive, it automatically created this folder for my class. And every time I open a new post in Google Classroom, if there are, for instance, PDFs attached to it, they will appear in that folder in my drive. So you can access them whichever way is easiest for you. Moving down, we'll see the agenda for this class. And in this class meeting, we have lecture video to watch from 9 to 10 a.m. It says watch this independently before or during this time slot. So this is video that I can actually watch at home on my own whenever is most convenient for me. I don't need to show up for class during this time. This is what's called asynchronous lecturing. From 10 to 11, there will be in-class discussion and lecture, and it says use the Zoom link in your Google Classroom calendar. Similarly, for the last section, it says use the combined cohort Zoom link in your Google Classroom calendar. So to access these Zoom links, again, scrolling up to the top of the Classwork page, this time I'm going to click on Google Calendar. Similar to the Class Drive folder, this will open within my Write Institute Google Calendar. It will automatically create a new calendar with the name of my class. The first meeting of this class was on September the 3rd, so let's scroll forward. And you'll see that automatically in your calendar, and you can toggle it on and off, you have listings both for the class meeting of your course, and if you click on this, you'll see watch the lecture video independently from this time. Here's the link from 10 to 11, and then here's the link to use from 11 to 12 when the cohorts are combined, or both classes are meeting together on one Zoom link. You'll also notice that, for instance, assigned readings that are due for class this day appear at the time that they're due. And there are some other assignments that we'll look through in Google Classroom that appear on here too. Everything with a due date that you need to do by a certain time will automatically appear in your Google Calendar. So let's go back to the classroom. We've covered the agenda. So here's the lecture video that my professor has asked me to watch. It says before or during the first hour of our regularly scheduled class time, please watch this 1-minute video of a mini corgi with a mini pumpkin 60 times. So that totals 1 hour. And instead of being in class again for this time, I can simply watch this video 60 times. And there it is. After I've watched the video, my professor has asked a question. This question tests whether I've actually watched the video that they asked me to see. If I click on View Question, I get the whole thing. What question might you ask the subject of the lecture video to learn more about the dialectic between them and the mini pumpkin? So to submit my answer, I'm going to type up here what I would ask. In this case, I'd like to know more about how the puppy feels toward the pumpkin. To submit this, I'll just hit Turn In. And so you'll see this option to see classmates' answers. I'm going to click on this. My classmate William James says, I'd ask about its experiences in younger life with mini pumpkins, or even regular-sized squashes of other types. That is an interesting point. Let's head back to the Classwork tab. The next thing down on the page is the slides for my professor's lecture. And again, if I click on this, you'll see that I have my own copy of the slide deck to take notes on as I need to. Next, there's a quiz. This has a due date after my class happens. Let's go ahead and look at it. So it says, submit the following quiz by the deadline. Open book. Check your answers before you submit, as editing answers and resubmissions are not allowed. So here, the question is it ontologically possible that this video was posted in the first section of this Google Classroom? And I can pick between these answers. I mean, this is a tough question. And on some quizzes, there will be instant automated grading, so I can click View Score. Oh geez, I'm really not sure, when the correct answer was no. Better luck next time. Let's go back to the Classwork tab. The next sort of assignment is a research paper. And again, I'll click View Assignment to see all the details. So here it says, use the attached template to write a 10-page APA formatted research paper that addresses current thinking on the question, what are corgis? To submit this assignment, I want to use the template given to me by my professor. So I'll click on it over here. You can see that this template is already personalized with my name, but other than that, it's just an open-ended Google Doc template, and I can use it to write my paper. For instance, let's move down and start by answering the question, what are corgis? And now that I think about it, we just don't know. I'm going to hit Turn In. It says, do you really want to turn this in? And I'll say yes. This has been submitted to my professor. So let's fast forward to when my professor has graded my work. If I go back to the Classwork tab, and at the top of the page click on View Your Work, you'll see that I have overall a 28.13% in the class. Not so good. And I can move down to the items that are part of my grade, so they have categories here, and see that, for instance, I did get 0 points on that quiz, and my professor gave my research paper only a 25 out of 100. When I hover over this, I can see that my professor has left me a comment and some other information in my research paper. So I'm going to click on this. Here's the overall comment my professor left for me. Make sure to include in-text APA citations next time. But this says that there's also an in-text comment. So I'm going to click on my actual paper, open it up, and see what they said. So, scrolling down to find their comment, I can see that my professor said about my paper, not quite right. And perhaps that's why I only got a 25% on this assignment.